to the Trade Up Podcast. I'm Lisa Brandt. One of the questions John Finan gets most often is, how do I get started in a skilled trade? John's guest today, Bella Cantin, knows firsthand. She's a network cabling apprentice who loves her work. She's found a career with great pay, plenty to learn, and job stability. Bella works on live train tracks, and she tells John what that's like, how her dad set a great example, as well as her experiences with two types of unions.
You are an electrical apprentice.
Yes, I am under my network cabling specialist apprenticeship as we speak, though.
Okay, perfect. So we'll dig a little bit into that, but you didn't get into the trade specifically as a network cabling specialist. You started off in something else. So tell us kind of a little bit about that and how you got to where you're at today.
So I guess what kind of led me into the trades was just having so much family and my dad having such a huge part in my life, just, without the schooling and stuff like that, just showing me the ropes for that. I knew I wanted to jump into something. So there was a union called CLAC, and they do a lot of free boot camps. They offer free training, free PPE and things like that. So I joined a group, I guess, that just kind of brings you in within that union. And they offer boot camp as an introduction to all trades. So you're learning carpentry, a little bit of electrical, a little bit of drywall, even just basic trades. So then I chose carpentry for a little while. It wasn't my dream as what I thought it would be. I like woodworking. There's two different kind of things with that, I guess you can call two different paths with that. If someone's looking to woodwork, it would be a little more beneficial to go into a company that does housing or something like that. So I kind of steered out of that. And within that boot camp, they did teach somewhat of network cabling specialist as more telecommunications side, underground burials for cablings for your home and things like that.
Right.
So that struck my interest after I kind of realized that carpentry niche was not what I was looking for, and that was kind of more of my hobby. So I jumped into that side of things. I started out in that boot camp that made me kind of open my eyes to a lot more than I was surrounded by, like more than my dad, more than the things that I kind of thought I knew.
So this is the point at which you learn in life that your parents, specifically your dad, doesn't know everything. And
exactly.
There's some things that daddy can learn. Yeah. So your dad is a tradesperson himself?
He is. He's actually a jack of all trades. He's done electrical, plumbing, and now he's in HVAC. He's been in HVAC for the last 25 years. He was the national account manager for Wolseley. And now he works for a friend of his with his own company right now. It's called One Click Heat. He just runs basic intake, outtake, I think it's what it's called, air filtration systems now.
So he traded up throughout his career then, started off actually doing the work and at Wolseley, which is a wholesaler, he was selling to some of the tradespeople. Yeah,
he was a manager at Reliance Home Comfort for about 20 years beforehand.
Okay.
And then I think just with that path of realizing that you're at no matter what age, you're able to kind of restart and it's okay to kind of leave that trade and try other trades. And I think some people don't realize that once you're kind of in a trade, it's okay to bounce around and kind of find your niche and things like that.
You go where the work is too. If the work is in carpentry, you do that.
Yeah, I've also worked all over Ontario, I can say. I actually worked in Ottawa before I moved here while I still lived in Toronto. So it's, you go where the work is. And I think having that, seeing my father do all of his accomplishments within the trades, not kind of sticking to one, it led me to feel more comfortable kind of being like, okay, I can put this down for a second and join this other trade and see what's going on. And that's what I did. And then I fell in love with the network cabling side and the electrical side and just how things work.
Awesome. So you did this all out of high school, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you don't look like you've had that pre-career yet. So
no.
So let's just talk about that for a sec, because it seems like you didn't go to college or university, which I'm going to guess all of your friends did. Is that right?
They did.
So you're the black sheep of everybody. Why did you do that?
I'd like to say black, but I do like not to put a negative aspect on it, yes.
Yeah, okay. Did you ever consider college or university? Apply even?
I did, only for the fact of COVID. So I was in that in between stage of the work for the tradesmen were super low, which actually impacted my generation kind of going into the trade. There was no jobs available. No unions were taking on any new people because they had no jobs to give them. So it was a consideration at one point. I led towards real estate.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that's what I really wanted to do just in case this whole trade like COVID situation was happening. So I think that's very situational just with how the world was for 4 or 5 years ago. But as soon as I really figured out school was not for me, I couldn't even read the enrollments. It just really wasn't my feel for that. There are lots of positives and lots of negatives, I guess you can say, like there are to anything.
Well, good for you, because when I think about young people in your situation, particularly in COVID, so you said two things, like I'm guessing you could have gone to university, you could have gone to college, all of that was open to you. COVID hit, so you get to stay at home, lock yourself in your room and hang out on your computer all day long, and somebody else pays for it. That sounds like an awesome gig, but you didn't go for that at all. You actually got out and got working, and that's quite unusual. So do you have other siblings?
I do. I have a older sister. She is a comms officer for the Navy, so she works on their communication side. So she runs like their social media and their events going around. They just had the Navy bike ride not too long ago, things like that. So that she took a very, very different path, left at 18, went to school, lived in residential and all that stuff.
So you come from a family of people that just get at it.
I can say that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's you live in it, so you don't recognize that maybe it's not common in every household, but you know what you're doing is quite unique. So you're young. I'm sure a lot of your friends are still in college and university. So when you get together for, a drink on a Friday night and everybody's talking about what they do, how do you describe what you do to somebody that's in their fourth or fifth year of university?
I would describe what I do. It's installing, maintaining, repairing, terminating from Cat6 cable. So we run a variety of cable in the network cabling specialist side from Cat6, Cat6A. There's different types, and Cat stands for category. Some days you're pulling cable, some days you're terminating, some days you're building brackets for speakers or cameras you're putting up. Some days we do have to work hand in hand with the electricians on site. Yeah, if you're working in a live panel room, things like that. On a day-to-day basis, it really does change. So basically, you're working with the low voltage side of things, security, telecommunications, data network. You can run LED lighting with fiber optics, which is a completely different side. That's the main difference, I would say personally, from the electrical side, obviously, to the NCS side.
Do you have some friends that are saying, I'm in my fourth or fifth year of college or university, and I still don't know what I want to do? The job prospects might not look great. Like 5 years ago, I started thinking that I was going to be gainfully employed, making six figures, and they're sitting with you on a Friday night, and you're not maybe quite there yet, but you're well on your way, and you work with people that are making six figures doing exactly the job that you're going to be doing in a few more years. Mm-hmm. And are they sort of saying, hey, Bella, I made a mistake, or tell me more about your career path because I'm interested in it?
I do get that a lot. I actually just had a conversation with a friend the other day, just kind of basic, same thing, just kind of stuck, wishing he kind of took a different path towards something. I would say it really does all come down to your workmanship. It's very hands-on, and I really can't sit at a desk and do what other people do. So I applaud them on that end. I'm not the type to do that. And when you do join the trades, you kind of find your group because you're all the same in some way. Everyone is very hands-on learning, very visual learners. I would say it really comes down to the person. So depending who I'm speaking to, I would always just say it's okay to change your career path, whether it's in business, sales, trades, anything. If they ever wanted to dive into trades, I would definitely give a crash course, things like that. I would tell them to definitely start a boot camp that I started in. So it's a boot camp just, again, for an introduction to basic trades. And then from there, you would be able to bounce around.
Oh, cool.
like that. Again, you make the money you work for, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's right. You don't work, they don't pay you. Yeah,
Exactly.
you don't work hard enough, they tell you not to come back the next day. That's
Yeah.
the way it works, right?
And if you work too hard, you're sailing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to be the hardest worker on the job site, particularly when you're young and you've got that super strength. So you're not from Ottawa, but you're living and working in Ottawa, and you started working with the CLAC union, but I think you're with the IBW now.
I am, yeah.
I get a lot of questions about unions, and lots of companies are union, lots of companies aren't union. And then within the union environment, there's different unions as well that do the same kind of work. So maybe explain a little bit of your experience with unions and how you like it, what maybe you don't like, if there's anything that you don't like.
That's a very interesting question. So the IBW definitely is aimed, obviously, towards the electrical trade. So I feel like they are more hands-on with their workers and things like that, whereas CLAC is a union for laborers, for electricians, for kind of all trades. For personal experience, I cannot say that the CLAC union is as hands-on as a union like the IBEW, and it's not just like the IBEW. There's the Iron Workers Union and things like that, right? I would always recommend, if you are going to start as a laborer, because I did do a labor position for a year and a half under telecommunications before my apprenticeship as well, I would say try and just jump right into an apprenticeship, even if you don't know that you want to keep that apprenticeship. It's just a safety belt to wear. Just from personal experience, you might not get, especially as your first time, you might feel a little overwhelmed or unimpressed by a union if you are going to join one like CLAC.
Yeah.
It's almost like having too many kids, right? Like there's so many different styles of things where IBEW and Iron Workers Union and Carpenters Union, it's very niche. They know what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
I believe you're what's called a traveler. So you're the union that you are working with now is a local in Ottawa, but that's not where you're signed up to. And maybe tell people that don't know how that works, how it works for you anyway.
For sure. So in the IBEW, each city has a local number. So my local number that I am signed up with is local 804, which is Kitchener. And so within that union, if your city or the company that you're working for in that area is quote unquote slower on work or has better work opportunities in other cities, your union will be able to allow you to work in their city. So where I'm at, I think it's 586 is for Ottawa. So I'll be on a temporary transfer as a 586 worker. So they're able to allow you to travel to other places, whether if it's for training, for simple experience, and you're confident enough to speak up and say, hey, I'd like to try to work, in Manitoba or New Brunswick or somewhere even outside of Ontario type of situation. We've had some guys go down there and do some things.
So the IBW, the I in IBW means international, which means, you want to go down to Texas, you can probably get yourself transferred down there.
Yep, for sure.
And travel around to whatever you want.
So as a network cabling specialist, we are working on becoming a Red Seal. So it's not Red Seal yet, but on the electrical apprentice side, 100% you would be able to.
And just for people that don't know what a Red Seal trade means, what it essentially means is that if you do your apprenticeship in Ontario and you become a Red Seal of a trade, you're able to work in virtually every province. It's recognized. It's kind of like a driver's license. So work in BC, you don't have to qualify back in BC. You've already qualified. It just makes super sense. And in a lot of ways, it gives you the job security that nobody else has.
For sure.
One of the strikes to the trades oftentimes is, you work in and then the project ends and then you're back in the bottom of the list. But you were sharing with me the project that you're on. It's a long-term project. Tell us about that project. I thought it was really cool. I hadn't actually thought somebody in your trade would be in it until you told me. And I'm like, well, of course you would be.
Yeah. So I'm working on the new OLRT train system that goes east to west all through Ottawa. And so we're at basically all stations running security, running cameras, running data, running fiber. So there's multiple different things at different stations kind of happening. You're just in your crew and you start traveling from station to station or where you're told to go. And you start doing the work there on the train tracks. There's inside work.
So that's a multi-year project.
Yes. I work for a company called Plan Group. It's a great company. Yeah, so they've been on this project for about 2 years now, I think a year and a half. I am kind of joining on the end side of it, but I do get to see things I've never seen before. I've only worked industrial and residential. Working on the rails is definitely a great learning experience. And with traveling, you're able to open up your resume almost to be able to do these kinds of things, because somewhere back home, you don't have a train system, right? So you'd never kind of get that experience. I've worked in a GM auto plant. So like machine robots, we were doing connections for those, running data to those, things like that. So definitely the rails are very cool and very different. And everything there has like a different spec almost. So it's its own project, because it's like industrial will have different kind of little things that are not the same, but here it's all the same but different, because it's
Cool.
not the same from anywhere else, if that makes sense.
What about your job sucks?
From a woman's perspective, it's a little bit intimidating to start fresh on a new site or be surrounded by, it is 90% men. I am the only girl on most of my even sites I'm on now. I don't think I have any regrets. I just think I regret the way I maybe dealt with some situation or some cards that were handed to me. And I would definitely give better advice to other people, or other women, I should say, joining the trades. There will be somewhat of a target on your back, but it really comes down to who you work with and how you project yourself. I would just say I would regret some of the situations that I did deal with. You can't just let some people get away with things because of age, or you do have to put your foot down sometimes, but that also goes to say the line goes the other way. You have to be open and understanding of the environment, not necessarily being okay with it, but understanding that it is a very different environment, and there is swearing and there is angry people that might not be the same kind of flow in an office. Do you know what I mean?
Well, not every person your age is going to say this at your age, but every person twice your age is going to say, when I was in my 20s, I should have done this differently. So the fact that you're actually thinking that way now just kind of speaks to your maturity and your ability to sort of think about situations and see for them what they really are, which is, just a day in the life of somebody.
And I think being in the trades actually teaches you a little bit of responsibility. You sometimes you get a lot of money, sometimes you know what I mean, and you really do have to work for your paycheck. So
yeah, the union hall is full of workers, and you're just one of them.
Yeah.
For somebody that might not know, so how safe do you feel on the job site in terms of getting injured by machinery or cranes or that sort of thing?
So every site you go to, you will have a site-specific safety orientation. The safety on this project is pretty heavy. You definitely feel safe, and it's a safe enough spot to be able to ask questions when maybe you don't feel safe, especially working with any sort of electricity or anywhere near any high voltage or anything like that. You definitely are in charge of your own safety. As someone maybe first on site, it could be a little bit scary because it's a running train track. But at the same time, there's no running trains. You have what's called derails when you are working in a specific area, which will, if anything does run through the tracks, it will derail off before hitting you. So there's so many safeguards in place, and you also have to go through a lot of training. If you're going to use any machinery, to even use a ladder, you'll need something called Working at Heights, which is a full 8-hour-day course, which you need a refresher on every 2 years. So there's always these implements that are placed to protect you, and there are safety measures everywhere. So long story short, yes, like you feel safe, but I could never say that 100% of the time. You know what I mean? But
yeah, no, I know that. So working at heights would be even going up a step ladder, 3 steps. You need that course to be able to do that.
Yeah.
The trades have come a long way since I did it. We had this saying, the first company I worked at, when you're on a ladder, and jokingly I say this, the boss said, if you fall, can you yell so I can fire you before you hit the ground?
Exactly. So. Or don't do this, but I'm going to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And you just got home from work, by the way, didn't you?
I did.
So it's not like, you come home and you need 10 hours to kind of get cleaned up and get the grime off you. Yeah, good clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a term that maybe even isn't appropriate for the job you do, but it's dirty hands, clean money.
It is. Dirty hands, clean money. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what you think, because you seem to be a very pragmatic person. You got into the trades based on what your dad had done, but I can't imagine that Bella Cantin's going to be doing this exact job for the next 25 years. So tell me how you've mapped out the next few years, at least, if not the next 25.
Yeah, that's a great question. I am trying to stick and get to the highest level of everything I feel like I can achieve. So even right now with being in this trade, I still do carpentry on the side as a side project. So I really do see myself owning a small business with carpentry, but I also see myself sticking with the network cabling side more than the electrical side. I think it is a very good job security to have a dual ticket, but at the same time, you are getting paid almost at a higher rate that it would have to be a significant job for that. So I've always told myself personally, I'd like more than one flow of income, but with something that I love. So I took two things I love in the trades, and I really do see myself kind of being the best I could at that and excelling every day. And I love to tell people that when they do ask me, like, why do you like the trades? Why not go be this, that, and the other? And I just really love to say that, first of all, seeing something that you've made or have been a part of from square one to seeing something completely work, or being able to pass by a building and say, that runs because of me, or like something like that, that's a very accomplishing feeling. And especially if you travel, it just feels like there's a little part of you everywhere. And second of all, it's really cool watching your ideas come to life when you try to troubleshoot in trades. And that's a huge thing in trades, is you're troubleshooting almost every day, because a lot of people in the trades like to disagree with the engineers as they are not in the field.
That's our favorite thing.
It's almost a little selfish to say, but the job makes you feel good, and you're also moving your body. It's also a little plus to that. So I definitely see myself staying within this trade, but also opening up my options to allow myself to do other things.
People in my generation, I hear, young people these days are so entitled. They want everything handed to them. I work with enough tradespeople at all ages that I know that that's just simply not the case. And nowhere is there a better example than what you just said. Everything from taking your dad's advice and getting into the trades to having a plan with dual income or multi streams of income, as you said. That's super refreshing. And I think, you're a great role model for anybody that wants to get into not just the trades, but any working thing. So
I appreciate that.
And you're also dating one of my nephews. Makes me wonder if he's good enough for you at this point.
Oh, he's great.
Tell him to pull up his socks.
If he was talking about a podcast on music, it would be even better.
You guys have found each other. I think you're both A players for sure. So Thanks for spending the time with us.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Bella Cantin has a bright future ahead of her in network cabling and anything else she wants to do. If you have a question or a suggestion for a guest for John Finan, email john@tradeupbook.ca. And if Bella's experience tells us anything, it's that being exposed to the skilled trades can make all the difference. That's what our book, Trade Up, is all about. Check it out on Amazon or at tradeupbook.ca. Thanks for listening.